So everything that is happening is because of the change in consciousness of humanity. And we had to change our consciousness in order for us to survive on the planet. And these changes that we're going through are something bigger than the human can understand. And we can breathe into that, because that alone is important to understand. So it's good to be able to be present, that's fine. But if you're not the type to be present during these times, it's very well understood. And it's an understandable thing to go through. Again, the human has fear because the brain is in control. And if you're not in touch with your inner knowing of what's happening, then you're just going to be strung along with the events that occur during these times. And these aren't new messages. We've been given these messages for years now. But it's stepping up to play at the consciousness shift. We have to change the way that we move around the planet with industry and everything. But it's happening on its own, and it's not like we have to go and do effort into it. What it is how you hold your well-being, how you hold your focus and attention during these times. And you can take what you want with that. Some people have their own way. Always check in with yourself, and you take a good deep breath and be present, and you let it come to you, and you be with what happens. So, if it's stress or tension, anxiety, you be with that. But the message today, and what I'm saying here, which is a good additive to my quarterly newsletter for May, is that this happening that's going on with the virus is more of like, it is a perfect happening, and I'll talk about that in just a second here, but I like to call it the happening, because it literally is that one of the big things that have shaken everybody to a halt. So what is the one thing that's going to stop everybody from moving during these times? And wasn't a computer virus, as we all know. Of course, that could cause major interruptions, and they do all the time. But this one is hitting the cellular level of the human. And again, me being a doctor of consciousness, that's what I do every day of my life, is that I work with clearing out the DNA and upgrading the frequencies, providing spatial platforms in order for these frequencies to rise through the carbon, through the DNA, through the physical. So it's lightening up the load. And some people listening to this message, this might not make too much sense, but again, breathe. It's best to get back to the brain. When I speak too, again, everything's multidimensional. The words that I use carry a vibration, so you can just sit back and just feel the frequencies of this video. That's why I like to do them. But there's no efforting. In fact, if you find yourself efforting, it's going to cause more tension during these times. So we say that the best way is keep in check and notice yourself. It's all about your well-being. It really is. Very little of what's happening in the world has to do with you. Now, yes, we're all connected, and that's why it makes the perfect happening, is that everybody becomes equal during these times. The status quo is definitely being tested, and there's a reason for that, because we live in very fragile systems, economic systems, political systems, religious, all sorts of these tight structures. Again, it's an energetic platform that keeps us in a certain vibration and frequency that limits us from experience and from expanding into all of who we are, because we're not just singular beings, a human with a body and a brain and living this life. We are eternal beings. And you have to find that within your own confines. So right now, if you breathe, and you use this space even to check in and just notice yourself and notice where you're at with everything. Notice what's yours, what's mass consciousness. Again, everything out in the world has very little to do with you. If you keep it local to yourself and just check into with your well-being and how you hold your focus and your attention because thoughts create emotions. Emotions are a byproduct of the brain not being able to find solutions to keep you safe, to be able to fix whatever problem that you are facing. The brain can't do that. It causes emotions, and it's not just fixing things, because you have happy emotions too. But regardless, emotions are a byproduct of the brain. But when we work outside with senses, the sensing, that knowing without knowing with the brain, we can sense into ourselves within our own local vicinity and realize where we're at. And that's where we start. We do it with ourselves. So we'd say one person at a time, right? This is not all for the masses. People are very busy doing the noise of the world gets loud during these big happenings, and they will continue. And it's all part of the shift. The climate change is all part of it. All these big mysterious things. We come from an era of information and feeding the mind matrix, so it's easy to feed into conspiracies. And there are really no conspiracies. It's just happening or not. And so there's some shady things that happen, and there's some shady things wrapped around this, of course. That's part of the multidimensional happening. So it's not that it didn't, is not the answer or why it occurred, for sure. But it has everything to do with changing our carbon bodies into light bodies again. So this is an ongoing show here on planet Earth for decades to come. And I wrote my book Soulship around the happening. Part of it, again, everything's multidimensional. You'll hear me say that again and again and again. But my book is not just, my message to the world, about ascension, about who we are, the kingdom within, of my autobiography of how I came into my realization. It's not all about that. It's not just a manual, really. It's a book that's not a book. It carries frequencies and vibrations, and when you indulge in it, it will change you, because that's what it does. It's like passing the baton when you run the relay race. When you're running around the track doing those races, you pass the baton next to the next runner. That's what I do. There's all sorts of words for it. Doctor of consciousness. I do psychic surgeries. I'm a shaman. I work with the masses. So, But to get back to it, I wrote pretty much from the middle or towards the end of the Soulship book, and you can get that on Amazon as ebook and paperback, and also at lulu.com as a hardcover book. But towards the end of it, I talk about all these shifts that are happening on the planet, and it's going to continue to happen. All structures that were configured and based off of third-dimensional living are changing. And we have this term upgrade because we have computers now, so they're being upgraded. Upgraded in frequency, so we'll have more space, more expansion, more room to play around, physical. That's all it is. And so if you have any problems or you need assistance or guidance, don't ever hesitate to contact me, because that's what I do. And again, we're all affected by this big happening, the perfect happening. And no matter how big or small your income is or anything like that, it's also affecting relationships. It's affecting health. The health, that's the whole point, right? But even if you're not getting the symptoms of the virus or anything, but it's affecting health, like, anxiety, tension, all starts in the mind. It can create quite the havoc in the body. Those are the main problems that can cause, heart disease or any big issues that the health industry, the healthcare people have deemed something like a disease. To my standpoint, there's no such thing. It's just stuck energy that needs to be released. So when you work with me, there's miracles, right? Things that are considered to be not normal. How do you do that? Muriel, how do you perform a psychic surgery? How do you work long distance? How do you do any of that? My consciousness goes to you. It's very, very unique, but it's not new. And there's plenty of people on the planet that have been doing it and do it. So it's just upcoming. again, the matrix got so intense and mass consciousness got so in our face that we had to move through it. But as the frequencies raise, we have more opportunities to be noticed. So for people to come, because they know that it works and it is magical. Nothing of linear doing, nothing of point A to point B to point C back to point A again. I work all over the place when we work with the multidimensionality of your being. So it has everything to do with your well-being, how you hold your attention to anything that happens, the news, media. You don't need to listen. I'm a perfect example. I always like to speak through experience. I do not have any engagement whatsoever to the outside world. And I don't need to. I keep in touch with what's going on in order to give these messages. But I don't have any, it's all that you let in. I don't let it in. I don't need to. You don't need to do that. Because I've come to the understanding that it works out. It really is just working out on its own. I provide guidance, and through that, then I do the surgeries and whatever you need done on an individual level. Yeah, it's something that is shifting. This whole happening is happening globally. It's happening on a mass level. So hold tight. You don't really need to do too much. If you go into fear, just remember, that's why I have these messages and this is provided for you. This is important for you to understand this. This is why it's here. And there's many people going and doing this, and you can cut through those who are stuck in their egos and their minds and giving what they believe to be the truth, or as long as it helps, that's why I always say, as long as it helps. Remember your breath, because it's what anchors you here. It's your identity. You don't really have an identity. It's all that we let in. How you hold your attention. And you don't need to engage into all of that news all the time. It's going to happen on its own. And again, I have to say, it is a perfect happening, because it's stopping everybody in their tracks from doing and keeping them doing and doing and doing. And they're basically, everybody's made to just simply be this time. To be with the self, to be with what's happening from day to day. And it's probably been a pretty long month for most of you. But you get through it, and we will. And, whatever it is, it's financial issues, whatever happens is for your greater good. So right now, even though it seems like it's all going to hell, it's all breaking down to come back, and it will come back together in a different way. So just hold on. Hold on. If you need to contact me, don't hesitate to do that. I have very cheap fees to my work too, and I do anyway. Nothing really changed. I changed a little bit recently. It's because of tax purposes, get my business going on here, but nothing affected by the happening. So yeah, and just make sure in your focus and how you hold your attention, and you don't need to let so much in for the world, even like your spiritual things. People who are in their spiritual journey tend to go off and they let so much information in, going to books, to guru, to teachers, to this and that, one person or one thing to another, to find the truth within. And it does help, don't get me wrong, and that's an individual, you need to check in with you. But some people get onto that and they get frustrated because you just want to get it done. You want to come home to yourself. And it's funny because it doesn't happen that way. Home comes to you. Surrendering, letting go, not resisting. What resists persists. It's easy to say than do, don't get me wrong. And again, I'm in it with everybody else. I'm not sitting here on a throne. It's just that I've come home, and home came to me. So I have a little bit of knowing, so I can share this with you. But just be wary of what you let in, because it's not everything isn't what it seems to be, and just allow the changes to occur. You allow things to just be the way they are. And through that, magic happens. And I guess you would say it's part of trusting. It's part of trust and, feeling safe within yourself. Yeah, sure. Yep. So, I guess that's my message for today. I could keep talking about it, but it's coming to 15 minutes here. So yes, be well during these times. That's all. Just not what say of like the virus, but I'm more talking towards like how you're letting out everybody else's into your sphere, everybody else's fear and stress and anxiety into your sphere. We're closer together now. Everybody's locked down or whatever. Eventually, in weeks coming here, you'll all be able to go out again. That's part of the perfect happening, is that we can give nature a little rest. It's needed. Too much industry, not that it's stopped, but everything's going to change within this. Everybody's reevaluating how they function, how they work, how they live, reevaluating, what is this? What has happened? And they're looking out going, wow, we are all connected. So the way that we perceive on a holistic level of each other and everything, life, creation, ourselves, how we fit in the picture, all of this is now expanding. So from my perspective, I've personally been waiting for this to happen for many years now. And we don't never know what it looks like. You can never know the future. You can have potentials, and that's what I discuss in my book Soulship, and they're all potentials. It's prophetic information, but the true prophet is that. They're not going to tell you this is what's absolutely going to happen. No. It's set in stone, but it can change a little bit. It's a little paradox, a paradoxical way to explain it. I don't want to do too much of that right now. But yeah, we're set on course, and we're just here and riding the wave until things calm down. So again, I am in it too, along with you. And so, we're not, I guess we're alone together in this circumstance. So everything's going to change for it. So embrace the changes, be well, and contact me if you need to. I'm